All right, so thank you everyone for attending today. My name is Brandon Grant. I'm the Marketing Director here at QuoteWerks. Today we're going to be demonstrating how you can use QuoteWerks to streamline your sales process. We're going to discuss kind of a short introduction into QuoteWerks for those of you who may not be too familiar with it. Kind of what is QuoteWerks, who uses it, kind of what the workflow is, some resources that are available to you, and then we'll go through an actual demonstration. For those of you who are not familiar with QuoteWerks, we are going to be recording this and posting it on the website. So those that just are logging in, don't worry if you have to leave early, or like I said, if any of you came in late, we'll be posting this so you have access to it later. If you look on the GoToMeeting box, you'll see there's an option that says questions. As we're going through, if you do have questions, feel free to submit them in there. I may or may not answer them immediately, but before the end of the meeting today, I will come back to them and answer them. So if you post a question and it's very relevant to what we're doing, I'll go ahead and answer it. If I get a bunch of questions in a row, then I may wait until the end to come back to them. So if you post a question, don't worry, I will come back and answer it before we end the meeting today. So let's go ahead and get started. So common question is, what is QuoteWerks? Maybe you have gone to the website, you downloaded the trial, or you've just been to the website, you kind of checked it out, or someone told you about it. QuoteWerks is a sales quoting and proposal solution. So what exactly does that mean? That means it allows you to create quotes and proposals for your clients. It streamlines that process, makes it easier to create those documents. We have over 76,000 users in over 100 countries, and when you create these documents in QuoteWerks, it's going to give you a ton of robust features that you're going to have access to, integrations. You're going to be able to track your progress, manage your documents, create templates, manage your products and services in the software. So there's a lot of great features that are included. Even though the name is QuoteWerks, we do more than just quotes. We're going to be able to create and deliver content-rich proposals as well. So if you do quotes, if you do proposals, if you do a mixture of the two, we'll be able to help you out. We do offer the ability to electronically deliver, accept, and receive payment for these documents. So you're actually going to be able to send them to the client, have them sign off on it, and even make payment through our system. As you can see here, we do utilize templates, bundles, and configurations to help kind of streamline the process even further. So you can create these groups of items and predefined templates, so you don't have to start from scratch each time you're creating a new document in QuoteWerks. We do integrate with the most popular CRMs, PSAs, accounting, and IT distributors, so if you have any of those in your system, we're going to be going over a lot of them today, so you'll be able to kind of see how those integrations work. And any of you that do place orders with like Tech Data, Ingram Micro, Synex, D&H, we can actually process orders through QuoteWerks as well. So who uses QuoteWerks? Really, if you are creating a quote or proposal that's a customer-facing document and you are creating line items in your document, QuoteWerks would probably be a good fit for it. It's a very robust product. We're not industry-specific. We have a lot of companies in AV. We have a lot of companies in IT. We have a lot of companies in the medical. All sorts of industries use QuoteWerks. There's really not a specific industry that we focus on, but there's really anyone can use this software. We do support recurring revenue, so if any of you offer hardware as a service, software as a service, or just any kind of recurring fees that you need to be able to track and show that information on a document, we'll be able to do that here. So what can QuoteWerks do? Well, we can create these content-rich proposals that we talked about, the simple one-page quotes and everything in between. You can customize each document for a client, or you can use just kind of a default template. We're able to use templates to make sure that everyone in your organization is going to have that branded, uniform design. Being in marketing, that's very important. From my standpoint, is that we always want to send out information that looks like it's coming from the same place. You don't want your reps to be using different templates and different styles, and the client trying to figure out if this is the same company or two different companies, what it is. So QuoteWerks will alleviate any of that issue by having your branded company and professional information. These quotes and proposals are an extension of your company. These are the documents you're sending to potential clients or existing clients, and they do need to look professional. They do need to look nice, and like they're coming from a professional organization. We do integrate with 12 different CRMs and PSAs. We do even have some third-party integrations that have been written by partners. So if you don't see a list of a CRM or PSA that you use, there may be a third-party integration for it. Additionally, we do have our own contact database, so if you just want to store your contacts in QuoteWerks, that's an option for you as well. We do integrate with a lot of the leading IT distributors, so they have a ability to integrate with like Tech Data, Ingram, Synex, D&H, and a few others. Jenny, ScanSource, those are some of the bigger ones. And then we do also offer a leasing integration, so if any of you provide leasing payments to your clients, this is something that you could use in QuoteWerks as well. Delivery for the documents is going to be very simple. We're going to deliver a PDF document to the client or an electronic version that they can sign off on electronically. You'll receive notifications through it. We're going to track all those customer interactions. We're going to see when they post comments, if they make payments, and you'll be able to see when quotes and proposals are expiring. We do have a pretty robust reporting function in the software, so you can report on pretty much anything that you do in QuoteWerks. So if you're creating a document and you want to see a range or a list or how sales rep A compares to sales rep B, you'll be able to do all sorts of different reporting options in QuoteWerks. And then again, going back to the ordering, if any of you are working with those IT distributors, we'll be able to place orders directly through those. We can also create purchase orders in QuickBooks, Sage 50, and Autotask and ConnectWise if you're using any of those systems. So the QuoteWerks workflow is actually very simple. It's something that comes up a lot, but users always like to know, okay, well, how do I actually use the software? So the first step that we always recommend is select your contact. Choose who you're going to deliver the document to. Next step is simply build it. So start adding the products and services to the document. Show them what they're going to be purchasing or what you're quoting them. The next step, very easy, delivery. We're going to send it to the client so they can review it. Once they've reviewed it, they're ready to move forward. They can accept and even make payment if you're using QuoteValet. And then once that's done, we're going to convert that quote to an order. When that quote is converted to an order, that's going to allow us to process that order in QuoteWerks. This is a good time to check your vendor sources so you can see if pricing's changed, if it's in stock, if you need to make any kind of change orders or anything like that. Then you can place the online order if you're using the distributors. If not, you can still create a POs out of QuoteWerks that you can deliver to your vendors. And then we can also export that PO to QuickBooks, Sage 50, Autotask, or ConnectWise, just if you're using any of those systems. And then we can even track the order to delivery and fulfillment, so you can track serial numbers, tracking numbers, all that information. We have a ton of resources on the website, so as you're using QuoteWerks, if you do have questions, feel free to go to the website. There's a bunch of free resources. We have a ton of videos on the website. We have a help file, which is our user's manual, which will kind of show you all the features that are available. We have these live and recorded webinars, so if you want to see a previous webinar, those are available as well. We have a users forum, which is a great place to interact with other QuoteWerks users and post questions. We even have a lot of partners that go in there and answer questions from all over the world. And then we do have our email and phone support available to you as well. So feel free to give us a call or send us an email. If you ever get stuck or just have a question about the software, we'd be happy to help. If you haven't downloaded the free trial, I highly recommend you do. We offer it for a reason because we think it's a great software. We stand behind it. If you try it, we're pretty confident that you're going to want to purchase it. So definitely download it, see if it's going to work for you. We want you to try it in your business, see if it's going to answer the questions that you're trying to solve. Make sure it's going to reach all those pain points that you're having. It is fully functional. It is going to include the integrations with the different distributors and accounting packages and CRM packages. So if you want to test all those out, you're going to be able to do that. If you want a live demonstration for your specific company, we do offer those. Just need to contact our sales team. So you can contact sales@quoteworks.com or give us a call at 407-248-1481, extension 2, and we'll be happy to set that up for you, get you in touch with one of our experienced product specialists here. Okay, so that's it for the PowerPoint. So like I said, very simple, very, very short. I'm not going to make you sit through too much more of that. So now we're going to go through how you can use QuoteWerks, or how does QuoteWerks actually work. So this is what you see when you first download and install QuoteWerks, is the QuoteWerks main screen. You're going to see up at the top we have 6 tabs. This is what we call the quote workbook. So as you're evaluating, if you're reading any of our documentation or speak with one of us and we reference the quote workbook, this is what we're talking about, are these 6 tabs. The document items tab is where you're going to spend most of your time in QuoteWerks. This is where your products and services will be listed, kind of like your worksheet. So as you're adding items onto the document, they're going to show up here, and you can make any changes to them. You can change quantities, descriptions, pricing. Any adjustments you need to make can be done here. The Sold to Ship to tab is going to be your customer contact information. This is going to be pulled from either a CRM or PSA, or you can type it in manually. You can also pull from Outlook, or if you want to import your contacts into QuoteWerks, you can manage your contacts in QuoteWerks, and we can pull them from that database as well. The sale info tab is going to be your document-specific information. So this is going to have information such as the document date, the expiration date, the tax rate is set here, the sales rep contact information is pulled from here because you're going to set your sales rep right there. If you have customer PO or customer terms that you want to reference or a PO number that you want to reference, you can put that information in here as well. The Notes tab has 4 different notes fields. We have the introduction and closing on the left-hand side and the purchasing and internal on the right-hand side. The introduction and closing notes are typically notes you would want the client to see. So if you have about us information, maybe ordering instructions, boilerplate information, any kind of information that maybe just a couple sentences that you want to put on the document itself, you can use these fields and those fields will show up on the document. The purchasing and internal notes are typically not shown to the client by default. So if you don't want the client to see something that you're writing here, but maybe you need to put a note in about a reminder you're setting for yourself, or maybe you're working collaboratively with someone else, you can use these fields and you don't have to worry about the client ever seeing them. Custom field is extremely useful if you need a field on your document, but you don't see that field available. You can rename the fields here and you can customize any of these fields. The one example I always like to give is we don't have an account number field in QuoteWerks, so I created one, and all I did was hold Control on my keyboard, double click, and then rename this field. So if I wanted to call this field, maybe we'll just call it field number 1. I can hit OK, and that's going to change that name. So it's very easy to customize QuoteWerks and change the verbiage that we use to more of the vocabulary that you're used to in your sales process. We don't want QuoteWerks to completely redesign what you're doing. We just want to kind of insert ourselves into what you're currently doing and make it a little smoother, make it a little faster, more efficient. On the Links tab, you're going to have access to attaching different documents to your quote or proposal. So maybe you have a statement of work, Visio or CAD drawing, Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint presentation, Word document, PDF document, any type of document you want to include with this quote or proposal, you can attach here. You can either drag and drop it or click on the Add File Link button and we'll link to where that document is currently stored. You'll then have the option to deliver that document to the client if you'd like to. Up at the top, we have some toolbar shortcuts. We're not going to go through all of them, but just kind of the major ones. The New button will create a new blank document. It'll look exactly like this, so it'll let you start from scratch, basically. The Open icon will bring up the open window. This is where you will search for your previously created documents. So every document created in QuoteWerks is saved in a central database. This makes it easy for us to be able to search, so you can always find the documents that you're looking for. You can see there's quite a few different fields you can search by. So you can search by the name of the document number, who it was created for, who created it, the sales rep that created it. If the document's expiring on a certain date, if it was created on a certain date, you can use a combination of all these fields to find a list or narrow down to a specific document that you're looking for. The save icon is obviously going to save the document in QuoteWerks. This is also when we're going to apply the document name. So that'll be the file name that we use. Revision icon, this is how we handle revisions in QuoteWerks. So if you're often having to create multiple versions of your document to give to your client, this will be extremely useful because instead of having to do like a file copy or file save as every time you need to update their quote with a different change, you can simply click on revision. It makes a copy for you automatically, saves it, and then you can make any changes to that document that you need to, and then that'll be the first revision of that document. We even track the revisions by giving it a revision number. So when you save a quote in QuoteWerks, it's applied a document number. Then when you create it as a revision, it'll add a -01, so it's the first revision of that original document. Under your View menu, you can see a list of all the document revisions. So we're going to track those for you, make it really easy to find. The Deliver icon is going to show you a list of all the layouts that you have in QuoteWerks. This is what your output's going to look like. I have quite a few because this is my training installation, but typically you'll probably have just 3 or 4 that you use in your installation, and this is going to be the output that the customer receives from you. And we're going to go into a lot more detail on that here in just a few minutes. The dashboard icon will give you some access to some nice reporting tools in QuoteWorks, some very basic ones, but it's going to at least provide you with kind of, quota for the month, how many quotes you've created, how many were converted to orders, show you a list of any expiring quotes within the next week, any recent documents you've worked on, there'll be links to those. And then we'll drill down a little further in the opportunities dashboard where you can actually see forecasts for your different statuses. So every document created in QuoteWerks is going to have its unique status. So we can set one for open, close, lost, won, however you want to set it up. It's going to be show up here, and you can see there are hyperlinks, so you can click on those and view those. Same thing for the top 5 closed won, or the top 5 open, or top 5 lost opportunities. We're going to track by dollar value the top 5 that have been won, that are still open or that have been lost during the date range that you've set here. You can also see the top 5 products, one by quantity and by dollar value here. So you can kind of see which items are selling the best, which ones you've sold the most of. That type of information will be available without having to run any kind of complicated reports. You'll get just a quick snapshot of that information here. Additionally, you'll see your 4th quarter summary since we are in quarter 4 now, but if you wanted to see previous quarters, we'll go back and even show you that information. So just a nice little area to come and see kind of how you're doing in QuoteWerks so far. The Quote Valley dashboard is going to show you what your clients are doing with their documents. Every time a client views a document, you'll see a notification here. If they post a comment, if they accept a quote, if they make payment, you're going to receive notifications here as well as email notifications, so you can keep track of exactly what your clients are doing every time they look at a document. And we'll go through that later in the demonstration as well. Products, this is where your products and services will be available in QuoteWerks, so pretty straightforward there. Bundles are where you would create groups or kits of items in QuoteWerks. So if you sell items together in a package deal, you can create a bundle for those items instead of having to individually select them each time. You just create that bundle. It'll group those items together, and then you can add them to the document. The configurator is extremely useful if you have any type of bundles that maybe have multiple options, so accessories or different available options. You can create a configuration that I'll walk you through, like step by step, creating that configuration in QuoteWerks. And then your best, latest, and compare will let you refresh pricing from any existing document. So if you send a quote out to your client, 6 months ago, they come back to you today, say, hey, we're ready to move forward. Instead of having to re-quote it and start from scratch, you can use the best, latest, and compare to refresh the pricing. So let's go ahead and let's create a new document in QuoteWerks so I can show you how easy it is and how much time it can save you. So we're going to start on the Sold to, Ship to tab. First thing you're going to look at is we need to pull our contact in. So we're going to click on our magnifying glass, and I'm going to see a list of all the contacts I've set up in QuoteWerks so far. So I only have 4, so not that many. Once I've located my contacts, I can pull them in using my icons here, my Sold to, Ship to, Bill to, and All. If I'm going to do a search, I can search by the company, last name, phone, email, and account number if I want to, and then that'll reduce my results as well. So if you imported like 10,000 contacts or something like that and you need to do a search, you'll be able to do that. So let's go ahead and we're going to pull in, we'll pull in John here. And we're going to click All. And it's going to pull his contact information across the board into all 3 fields. So that's going to be important. You always want to have your contact information specifically in the Sold to, because this is the contact information we're going to use on the document. So you always want to make sure you have that filled out. Now that we have our contact information, we can start building our document. So on the document item screen, if I right-click, this brings up my edit menu. And this edit menu is where I can add additional fields or include some different items. In QuoteWerks, we have the ability to organize our document into different sections using what we call heading lines. So again, if I right-click, you can see here there's an option for Insert Heading, and then I can put in a heading description. The heading descriptions will let you organize your document however you like. In this case, I want to put one in for products. If I wanted to add one in for, maybe we'll do one for services, I can add that also. And maybe we'll do one more, so I'll right-click one more time, and we'll do one for optional items. These can be set up however you'd like. If you want to set it up, maybe you're doing installation in some offices, so you're saying, hey, this is going to be for Office 1 and Office 2. Maybe it's different rooms, so you're saying Room 1, Room 2. Maybe it's different phases of a project. However you want to use the heading lines is up to you. If you don't use heading lines, you can skip this step completely and go straight to adding items on the document. One of the best things about the heading lines, though, is on the sales side of things. Once you have chosen the items that you're wanting to add to your quote, you can tell QuoteWerks exactly where you want them to show up on the document. So it makes it a lot easier to put your items exactly where you want, but you can always move them later. So let's go ahead and go to our products icon here. And this is going to bring up our product lookup window. So in our product lookup window, we can search by the various databases we've set up in QuoteWerks. We can also search in Utilize. Utilize is going to be specific for any of the IT companies out there. So if you're using Tech Data, Ingram Micro, Synnex, D&H, you can search for items through those distributors here. It's basically a Google search, so you can search by keyword, manufacturer part number, vendor part number. However you want to search for a specific item, you can do so here. So if we do, let's say we're going to look for Triplite switch. So it's just kind of a generic item. You'll see it returns 315 items, so that's quite a few. So we kind of want to start narrowing this down. So when you're using Utilize, it's going to let you drill down by the categories, manufacturers, and features and attributes of your items. So if I'm saying, okay, I know I'm looking for just switch boxes, I can narrow it down. And then maybe if I go to product family, go to Net Commander, and I can narrow it down to 11. So I can get down very quickly to the items I'm looking for. Once I've located an item, I can get my pricing. So if I find one that I like, and let's say that one looks good, I'll go ahead and get my pricing and availability for my distributors. Using my account credentials, I'm able to get my pricing from D&H, Synex, Ingram, and Tech Data in this case. We also support Westcon if you're using ComStore. And then I can select which vendor I want to source it from, and then I can add it to my document. Now this is where it's going to be really nice if you're using those heading lines, because you can actually tell QuoteWerks where do you want this item to appear. In this case, we can say, okay, we want it to appear under our product section. I can add it there. I can also adjust my quantity on the screen. So if I want to change my quantity, I can use the up and down arrows, or you can just type it in. I just want to quote out, we'll say 2. I then can set my price. So if we want to mark this up, maybe 22 or 20% from cost, I can type in M20. That'll mark it up 20%. Or if you just want to type in your price, maybe it's just $7.25 is what you're going to sell it for, you can type that in. We also support profit margin. So if you're saying I need a profit of 15%, I could do P15, and that would be a profit of 15%. So a lot of flexibility here in setting your prices before you even add the item to the document. Additionally, you'll be able to check price history here. So if you've ever sold this particular item to this specific customer, you can actually see what you quoted them, the quantity, the date, the cost, the modifier. All this information is available. So if you do a lot of reorders, it makes it very easy to stay consistent with your pricing, because we're going to track that information in your document. Same thing right below, price history for this item. This would be anyone that you've quoted to, not just that specific client. So if you've ever quoted this item out to a client, you'll be able to see what you quoted them last time. So it's very, very useful, and then we can choose to add it to the document. So a lot of information through Utilize. Very, very helpful tool for any of the IT companies out there. Now, if you're not in IT, you're able to set up your own databases in QuoteWerks. So if you look on the left here, I have vendor A and vendor B, so just some generic vendors with some generic items in there. This would allow me to set up any vendor, really with any vendor that I want. As long as you can import your price file, you can set up the items manually. It's going to be up to you how you want to set that up. But when you have your vendor set up, you're able to do a search on the manufacturer, vendor part number, item description, manufacturer part number, or even keyword to find an item. Once you've located an item, you can highlight it and then click Select Add to add it to the document. Or if you want to add multiple items, you can simply highlight multiple items and then choose Select Add, and it'll bring up that Add Item Assistant again. So no matter what database you're sourcing your items from, whether it's Utilize, whether it's your own database, whether it's another vendor's database, you're going to be able to use this Add Item Assistant to change quantity, set your price, and then check price history. So I've quoted this item a lot, and you can see that price history here. And same thing, price history for this item. We can see all that information, and then we can add it to our document. So this is a product. We'll say we'll add it to our products, and you can see it's adding it under our products heading. Same thing if this was a, we'll say this is an optional item. Click Add. Well, it's not in my database, so it wants to add that extra one here. And then this is a service, since the license, let's put it under service, and it adds it under service. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in having essentially as many items as you want. There's no limit on your products or services. You can set up as many vendors in QuoteWerks as you'd like. Up at the very top, we do have our multiple database search. This is extremely useful for any of you that use vendors that may offer the same types of items. So if you have a lot of vendors that often sell a lot of the same items or sell competing items, and you want to be able to kind of compare them instead of having to do a search individually each time, you can use this multiple database search, and that's exactly what it's for. Is it'll search across your different vendors and let you see what the pricing is. So if we did a simple search in here, and let's say we looked for any items with the word switch in it, you can see here it's searching our products database, my vendor A and vendor B, and then I can see which ones I want. And once I've found it, I can make my selections, click Select Add, and choose to add this to our document. And we'll add one more for our optional items there. Okay. So now that we have our items on the document, we're able to make any changes to these items as we need. So if we need to edit an item's quantity, we can easily do that. You'll see here this autosave will pop up anytime you start a quote in QuoteWerks. After 2 minutes, if you haven't saved it, it's going to prompt you to save it. The reason it does that is so that we can turn on the autosave, just like Microsoft Word. You know, when you're working on a document, you save it, and then autosave runs in the background. Same thing here. So we'll say yes, we want to save it. And then now it'll save my work as I'm working in it. So if you're working on any type of long quote or long proposal, it's really nice to have the autosave just running instantly in the background. That way, if your computer crashes or you lose power or something, you know, any of that happens, you don't have to worry about losing your work because it'll always be saved for you in QuoteWerks. So I can make some changes to the quantity. So in this case, let's say I want to change this quantity to 4. This one I want to change to 2. I can make those changes as needed. You can also change multiple items at once. In this case, I want to change my items. Let's say we'll go these 2 items here. And I want to change those quantities to, we'll say 3. I can hit OK, and I can change multiple items at once. In this case, I cleared out this screen, or this item. I don't want to sell this item anymore. I can just delete it from my quote. Right-click, delete. It'll prompt you just so you don't accidentally delete it, and then you can add it back. You'll see there is an undo functionality, so if you do delete something, remove something, or change something, you want to change it back, you have the ability to undo. Control-Z is supported for that here. The rest of your items, you can make any changes to the items as needed. If you double-click in the description field, you'll actually see the entire item's description. So if you want to shorten this, you know, maybe this is a lot for the client, we just want to make it real simple for them, we can reduce that description for them. The description field holds 32,000 characters. This zoom window is actually resizable, and it's going to hold 32,000 characters, which is about 30 pages of text. So if you do have very lengthy descriptions about your products or services, you'll be able to put that information in here. You don't have to worry about running out of space. So if we want to make any changes to our items at this time, now since we're on our document item screen, this is where we can do that. So if we want to change our pricing, you know, maybe for this item, we just want to sell it instead of for $749.14, we want to sell it for $750. So I'll just type in $750, and that's my price for this item. Now, if you had pulled this item from the database, it's not going to update the database with that change. It's just going to change it for this item. So it makes it really easy if you're having to negotiate with clients and you need to change pricing on the fly. You don't have to worry about QuoteWerks retroactively changing your database. It's going to leave your database the same. Once you pull the items from the database, they're on here. You can make any changes to it. You can change descriptions. It's not going to retroactively change the database for you. So you don't have to worry about your reps, you know, when they're negotiating or making changes to the items for it affecting your database. It'll just be for this specific quote that we're creating for this client. If you look at the top, we're going to track your margin, your commission, your profit amount, and the extended list, extended price, and extended cost of your items. If you highlight an item, it'll move to just that specific item. And if I highlight 2 items, it'll be those 2 items. So if we're looking at our profit margin, maybe we're saying, you know, on our profit on our products, you know, 18%, that's pretty high margin. We want to bring that down a little bit more to like 12%. So what I'm going to do is right-click on those 2 highlighted items, choose Apply Price Modifier, and then I can set a price modifier for these 2 items at once. So maybe I want to do a markup of 12% or a margin of 12%. And you can see now it's updated those 2 items. Same thing for the entire document. You can do a Control-A or right-click Select All, and that will let you make those kinds of changes. So you can change multiple items at once, which again will save you time when you're building this. You don't have to make a change to this item, then make a change to this item. You can do multiple items at one time. So from here, on our document, we also have what are called line attributes. So if we go into our optional items here, every item in QuoteWerks has these line attributes. So if you right-click on a highlighted item or highlight multiple items and choose the Edit Line Attributes option, you'll see these line attributes that are available. The line attributes are tell QuoteWerks what type of item this is. So is this item optional, yes or no? If an item is optional, it'll show up on the document for the client, but it won't be included in the quote total unless you check the box for is selected. So if you want these optional items to show up on the document and be included in the total, then just check that box. This is also where you can choose if the tax code is needs to be changed. So if it's taxable or non-taxable, you can adjust that. You can also hide the price. Extremely useful if you are often selling items in groups. You don't want to show the client the individual prices. Maybe you're saying, hey, this is my gold package and it includes these 6 items, but you don't want to show the client the individual prices of those 6 items. You can go through to the line attributes and hide the price of those 6 items. You don't have to worry about it showing up on the quote. The client would just see, oh, the gold package is $1,000, but they wouldn't see the breakdown of the 6 different items on there. Same thing with hide quantity. If you don't want the quantity to show up on the document, you can choose to hide that. Extremely useful if you offer any kind of services that may be time-based. If you have a labor charge or installation charge, or maybe you even charge for traveling or something like that, and you charge them by the hour, you can just put the item on the quote, hide the quantity, and you don't have to worry about the client saying, oh, you're charging me for 8 hours of labor. Do you think you could do it in 4 instead? They'll just see that it says labor charge and the price, and that's it. So it makes it a lot easier to avoid those type of negotiations when you're dealing with your clients. Print line, extremely useful, again, when you're using groups. So if you have your items in a group and you don't want to show a particular line item on the document, you can choose not to print it. It'll still be included in the quote total, will still be on your document so you can see it, but the printed version of the document, the client will not be able to see it. Print picture, if you're pulling items from Eatalize or you've set up your own items to show pictures on the document, you can toggle that on and off. So if you want your items not to show a picture for maybe the specific item, you can choose not to. And then if you have any recurring charges, so if you have anything that's weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual, you can choose if they're recurring or not, and you can set that here. And actually here we'll go and change that. So we'll set that to optional, and then here we'll set this one to a recurring charge. So say, yes, this is recurring, and then you can choose, is it weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annual? So we'll say it's a monthly charge. And then the start of the cycle, or the cycle basis would be, when does the item start, or when does that contract start? Does it start at the start of the cycle, which would be the beginning of the week, beginning of the quarter, beginning of the month, beginning of the year kind of thing, or is it a specific date? So if it's going to be a specific date, you can just set it. Include the first payment in the document total. Just check the box there, and that'll include the payment in your total. If you leave it unchecked, you're basically telling the client that, hey, you get the first month for free. So maybe you're a nice company and you do that. In this case, we're going to go ahead and make them pay the full amount. And then here you can choose the contract dates from the document. Those are set on the Sale Info tab. So extremely useful if you have multiple recurring items on the document and they're all going to use the same dates. Instead of having to individually select each one and set the dates, you can just have them all use the contract dates on the Sale Info tab. Or if you want to specify the dates, you can do that as well. And you can see it just brings up a calendar. You can choose, okay, we're going to say it starts on Monday, and it'll go for 1 year. And we can set those dates, and then hit OK. Anytime you set an item as recurring, it's going to show up here in QuoteWerks under your recurring monthly. So it'll actually say here, this is a monthly charge. If it's an annual charge, it'll break it out. If you had, and make sure that it would do that as well. Okay. A couple other things before we move forward. On your document item screen, you also have the option to insert a blank line, which would be if you need to add an item on the fly. So if you're working in a document, you need to include, maybe a one-off product or a one-off service, you can insert a blank line and just put the information in there on your own. Inserting a comment, these are great to use if you want to use them for spacing in your documents, if you're trying to kind of break out the sections a little more. Also very useful if you need to put more text in about a specific item, but maybe you want to put it as its own line item. You can use a comment line for that. There's no pricing associated with it. It's just going to be text about that specific item. Add % discount and % charge. You can add % discount and % charge line items to the document. So maybe it's a really good client. You're saying, hey, we're going to give you a on your quote here, we're going to give you a 10% discount. So what I can do is right-click and choose Add Subtotal. Subtotal out my document so they can see how much the document originally would be. And then I can right-click and choose Add % Discount. And I can put in a discount amount. So maybe we'll give them a 10% discount. They're a really good customer, so we're giving them a 10% discount. And then you can even type in here, and maybe we'll call this our great customer discount. And then that'll show them how much money they're saving. So it's really easy to show the client or hide things from the client if you need to for each line item and everything that's been included in the document. Like I said before, if you need to remove something from the document, simply highlight the line items. You can hit delete on your keyboard or just Control-D or right-click and delete line, and that'll remove it for you. So obviously, running subtotals is available. You can even run subtotals in different sections. So maybe for my product section, I wanted to run a subtotal. I can add a subtotal for that section, and then maybe we'll add one for our services. And then we can type in here if we wanted to change this. Maybe we'll call this our services subtotal or just our services total, so the client can see what they're purchasing. And we'll do the same thing for hardware and see our hardware total. So it makes it really easy to show the client exactly what they're purchasing. You're going to have all this capability and all this functionality, and it's going to be up to you what you want to show the client. So it's going to give you, just make it a lot easier to make the document easy for the client to read without having to do a ton of work. So you'll save a lot of time there. Like I said, if we want to remove anything, so maybe we want to pull these subtotal lines out, we can, and those will be pulled out from our document. Okay, so we made all these changes to the document. We're ready to send it to the client. So we're going to click Save. If we hadn't already saved our document to start the autosave, on the save is when you'll give it the document name. So just like when you name a Word document or an Excel file, you give it a document name. We typically use the company that we're selling to and then today's date. You can change that. You can set it to whatever you'd like. It's up to you. The document number will be assigned automatically for you, so you don't have to keep track of your document numbers in QuoteWerks. We're going to do that automatically for you. And then status of the document will be set as open typically, but you could change it if you want to call it drafted or created or written or whatever you want to do, whatever verbiage you use, you can set. And then project number, that'll be set as well. So if you want to assign multiple quotes to the same project, very useful. You can even change the project number by clicking on the project number radio button there, or the ellipsis button, and then you could type in the different project number. Again, this is useful if you wanted to create multiple quotes for the same project and link them together by that project number. You could then run a report to see which quotes have closed, which ones are still open, how much revenue it's going to bring in, all that would be available for you. All right, so we saved our work. We're ready to send it to the client. So we're going to click on our Deliver icon. So on our Deliver window, we have 5 tabs up at the top. We have our cover page, layout, literature, spec sheet, and links tab. So the cover page is going to be just that. It's going to be a cover page file that you will put on top of your layout document. I have quite a few different ones that I use here, but you can choose which ones you want to use. You can even set a default by clicking on the star next to the selected layout. So that's why my cover page is already set for me. Your layout tab is going to be made of 2 sub-tabs. It's going to have your primary sub-tab first and then the additional sub-tab. The primary sub-tab means you have to choose at least one here. So you have to choose one layout. Again, you can set a default by right-clicking and choosing Set Default. And that way it'll already be selected for you if that's the layout you want to use. The layout is the customer output. So right now we're building what the client's going to see. So as of right now, the client's going to see a cover page and this layout. Now if I have an additional layout I want to include, maybe I have like a summary page or just something else that I want to include on the document, I can attach multiple layouts here if I want to. So in our case, we'll just attach the second one, and then we can go to our literature tab. Literature is going to be any type of additional documentation you might need to include. So if you have terms and conditions, service contract, warranty information, anything like that, you can choose to include it. So here we have a support agreement we want to include, so we can attach that to our layout. You can see here as I'm going through the tabs and making selections, they're going to show up here on my selections panel. This is going to show you no matter what tab you're on, what you've previously selected. So if you need to remove something, change the print order, you'll be able to do that here. Spec sheets are going to be used for any items on the document that may have some more technical information that you want to include. So if you have more or maybe even just more information in general about the item, you can choose to attach the spec sheet here. And in the links tab, this is what we talked about earlier. If you had attached an outside file, maybe something that's like a one-off, or maybe the client's RFP or RFQ you wanted to attach, or you just have something that you want to include to this document and you attach it to the links tab, it'll look very similar to the literature tab where it'll have a checkbox next to it and you can choose whether or not you'd like to include it in the document. So we made all our selections, so let's go ahead and preview our document. And this is what it's going to look like before we send it to the client. Now, when you've saved this document, we're going to merge everything into a single PDF file. So even though this is 11 pages, it's going to be one PDF file that we deliver to the client. So this is our cover page. This is all macroed information. It's pulling in our document name, who is prepared for, the document number, And then on our next page, we even have the contact's full contact information. We have some text about them, so a nice little executive summary. And then we have my client information, or my contact information, rather. Again, this is all macro, so I'm not having to type this in each time. It's just going to have the QuoteWerks macro information in there for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Next, we're going to have our layout. So we're going to have all our different items on the document. These are fully customizable, these layouts. You're going to make them look however you'd like. So you can put in your own company colors, your own company logos. You're going to make them look however you would like. And then here I've got another layout that I added. This one's the summary. So I kind of just organized it for the document, on the document, so the client can see, okay, what are my initial investment, what's my recurring charges, what's my subtotal, what's going to be billed monthly. So you can break that all out for the client so they can see exactly what they're ordering, and so they can see, a nice kind of summary of what they're going to be purchasing from you. And then we also have our support agreement here that we have attached. And at the very last page of this, there's a page where they can sign off on this entire agreement. So you can send all this as a single PDF file. You can see up at the top, we choose email, and then we'll open up our email window. And so even though, like I said, it's an 11-page document, we do merge it into that single PDF. So anything that you attach, if it's a Word document, a PDF, or an RTF file, when we merge it, we're going to merge all that data into a single PDF document that we then send to the client. You can type in your message here and then hit send, and it'll send it out to the client. I don't have email set up on here, so I can't actually email it, but pretty sure everyone understands how email works. So very easy to do, very easy to send to the client. Now we also have the option to track the customer's interaction if we use QuoteValet. So QuoteValet, when you're using QuoteValet, you're going to do everything the exact same way we just did. We're going to choose Upload to QuoteValet, and we'll go ahead and we'll save it since we did make a few changes. And then this is going to prompt us to upload it to QuoteValet. And then typically you would preview what it's going to look like before you send it to the client, but I want to show you what the difference is with QuoteValet. So we choose Send Email, and you'll see here there's no attachment. So QuoteValet, all we're sending the client is this electronic link. And the reason we send them this is a lot of spam filters are basically cutting out or blocking any email that has an attachment. If you try to send a PDF to someone, a lot of spam filters will say, nope, we're not, anything that has an attachment is not coming through. So what we've done is we've created this product called QuoteValet where you can deliver your document electronically. And so now not only can the client electronically sign and accept it, you're going to get tracking notifications every time the client views it, if they accept it, if they make payment. So if we click on this link, so we'll pretend I emailed this to myself, and we go into our web browser. So we emailed it to the client, client clicks on the link, and then this is what they'll see. So this is going to be the QuoteValet page. This is their quote. Now this is, again, just like your PDF document. You can customize this. You can put in your own logos, own company colors, change fonts, all that information here. So if you scroll down, first thing you'll notice is the PDF. So if you click on that, there's the PDF document. So even though we didn't attach the PDF to the email, client still has access to it, so they can either print this or save it. So if you did include, like a support agreement in this case, or maybe it's just some contract information that they need to read over, they'll still be able to review it here, and you can see it's going to include all the pages. So it's a really nice feature where it's already included on the document for them. Additionally, we have our line item information here. And this is one of my favorite features about QuoteValet, is that what you deliver to the client is now an interactive quote. The client can actually choose to make changes to the document without having to contact their sales rep. So since you set these items as optional, they can uncheck them, click Update, and it will actually deduct it from our total. So the client can go through and actually choose which items they want. Additionally, I don't have mine set up that way, but you can set it up where the client can adjust the quantity too. So maybe they don't need 3, they need 5. So you could have it set up where they could actually make that change. You can even set up mutually exclusive options. So if you want the client to include, maybe you're giving them a good, better, best option, they can choose between those 3 options or 5 options, however many options you set up for them. Additionally, when I clicked on this link, it sent an email to me notifying me that they viewed the quote for the first time. So I don't have to guess and ask myself, okay, well, it's been 2 weeks. They've probably looked at it. I'll know immediately as soon as they view it that they have actually received or that they have actually reviewed that document. And then the acceptance email here, or the acceptance portion here, this, when they sign off on it, will send you an acceptance email letting you know that they've signed off and accepted the document. If they have any questions, they can post a comment here, and that'll send you an email notifying you that they posted a comment with the text of your comment as well. So everything looks good. Let's go ahead and accept it. So we're going to sign off on the documents, put some notes in for our sales rep saying, hey, we need to move forward. Please process ASAP. And then we'll sign off on it as, let's say, John Sales. And then click to accept. So this is going to send an email to my sales rep notifying them that the quote was accepted. And then once it's accepted, if you accept credit cards or PayPal, this Pay Now button can be available, and when your client clicks on that, it'll bring them to a payment screen where they can make payment on the document. So they'll be able to put in their credit card information and make payment. If you only require that they pay, like the first 20%, or maybe just for services or just for products or something like that, you can set up the different deposit amounts for what they have to pay. I have mine saying that they need to pay the full amount of the document, but you could set it up where they only need to pay $1,000 down, or maybe 20% down, or something like that. You can set up various deposit amounts that the client needs to pay when the quote's accepted. So in QuoteWerks, once your quote is accepted, you'll see there's a quote valet option here now. That'll let you know that, hey, this quote has been updated, and then customer selected it, and then it's been accepted. You'll also see all the activity on the right-hand side. So we can actually see when they viewed it, if they viewed the PDF attachment, if they changed an option, if they accepted it, if they made payment. You'll be able to see all that activity through Quote Valet. And again, we're going to send you emails for these major notifications as well. So you can actually kind of track the progress of the document through the client's activity history here. And each document you upload to Quote Valet will have that information available. You'll see there's a few other buttons here. You have the ability to view the sales rep facing page. So if your client posts a comment, you need to be able to respond. That's how you do that, is through the view sales rep facing page. Click on that. That'll bring you into a screen to log in. You log into Quote Valet, and then you can post your response. We also have the ability to recall a quote. This is extremely useful if you've ever sent out a quote to a client and realized something was wrong or off, and you have to send an updated copy. Instead of having to do that, you can simply recall the quote, which will temporarily pull the quote down. You can make your change and then re-upload it to Quote Valet. So it makes it really easy. If you've made a mistake or you need to adjust something, you have the ability to quickly make that change. It's also really nice if you send it out and the client hasn't looked at it yet, and because you have this Quote Valet activity history here, you can make the change and re-upload it before they even know anything's wrong. So it's really nice because everybody makes mistakes. You're going to send out something with maybe an item's no longer available, or you forgot to include tax, or pricing was wrong. You can make those changes without having to send the client a brand new link, a brand new document. You can just update it, and then the next time they go to it, they'll see that updated status. You can even post a comment on there to get them to take a look at it. So really nice to be able to do that. And then once the quote has been accepted by the client, you can convert that quote to an order in QuoteWerks. So we'll click on File, Convert to Order. And then when you close this quote as an order, if you're using any kind of CRM or PSA system, we'll actually update your opportunity at that point as 1 for you. So as long as QuoteWerks has created that opportunity, we'll also update it as 1. And then from here, now that you've actually closed out the quote, we can then process the order. If you're using our purchasing, or you want QuoteWerks to create a purchase order document, you can go to our purchasing option here, and then you'll see there's an option to create a PO. So if I wanted to do it by vendor, maybe we'll do our products here. Let's see, we'll do vendor B. See if I can find one. There we go. I just wanted one with more than one item on it. So I can choose my vendor and then create PO. Put in a PO number. If you're exporting to QuickBooks, that's what that checkbox will be. So if you're using QuickBooks to manage your POs, you have QuoteWerks create the PO for you. If you're using Sage 50 or Autotask or ConnectWise, it'll be the same. It'll just say those systems instead. If you don't want to export it out to your system, you just want to have QuoteWerks create the PO, you can do that, and then we'll create that purchase order in QuoteWerks for you. And then when the purchase order has been created, you'll be able to track your information. So you can actually add tracking numbers and serial numbers to any of the items that you've created the purchase order for. That way you can keep track of every time the client says, hey, can you send me my tracking numbers? You can come in here and you can actually right-click and choose email tracking numbers, so the client gets a copy of all that information. Okay, So that's pretty much it from start to finish, of building the quote, sending it to the client, having the client sign off on it. I know we went over a lot of information, so I'm going to stick around for the next few minutes and answer any questions that you guys may have. I see there are a couple questions posted, so I'll follow up with those. For any of you that don't have any questions, thank you for your time today. Like I said, I encourage you to download the trial if you haven't yet. If you do have questions, feel free to give us a call or send us an email. We'd be happy to help. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but I'm going to hang around the next few minutes and answer any questions. But again, thank you for everyone for your time today.